You tell me where to stand, and I'm standing here.
You're right there.
So, first, I just love the traditions that I'm seeing, the happy dollars and the jokes. It reminds me a lot of our school. We do, my assistant principal tells jokes for our weekly announcements, and when COVID hit and we had to shut down, that was something that the kids really looked forward to, that we put on Instagram and Facebook, was his jokes, and he turned it into daily jokes. And so I think humor goes a long way, so I really appreciate that. So we're just going to talk about what we do for intergenerational poverty, because it is an issue. I think many of us don't think in Cedar City, Utah, it's an issue. We look around our beautiful community, and it is beautiful. Not very many places in the world you could drive to work and see the sun shining on the Pine Valley Mountains, and then turn the corner and see a hawk up in a tree and be able to stop and share that with your children. So we do live in a beautiful place, but there is a population in our community that really struggles, and I have a personal connection in a way with this population, and so it really means a lot to me. So we're from Cedar Middle School. That's our beautiful campus. I did not take the photo. Whoever did is a genius. And our motto is every student, every day, the warrior way. And we really try to implement this. And really, who does the work is not me. I'm just a figurehead. My teachers and my staff are incredibly amazing. I have 60 amazing faculty that teach our 1,200 students every day, and then over 100 staff that are just incredible. To work at a middle school is a different experience, and I swore I would never end up in a middle school, and I'm there and have loved every minute of it. Really, I have. Some days I go home and think, what am I doing? And then they're just my kids, so I love them. So why intergenerational poverty? So and I think that they probably covered this last time, and I need to apologize.
But there's new people here. So.
Okay, so last time I apologize for not being here. It was my mistake. I put it on the calendar on the wrong day, so I was mortified, as Neil knows, and so I'm making it for him.
We blamed Neil. You should have stuck with us.
Oh, I should have stuck with blaming Neil. Yes, I should have. So each county was assigned the task of creating an intergenerational poverty committee to address poverty in their county. And the committee decided to focus on schools, and then they decided to focus on middle level, because they felt strongly that those were the kids we could still reach and really have an impact. And so they invited the principals and counselors from Canyon View and Cedar Middle to be part of the committee. So that's how we got involved. And Iron County School District ranks 3rd or 2nd, depending on the year, for intergenerational poverty. That should read Iron County in general. Cedar Middle School has an enrollment of approximately 1,200 students, grades 6th through 8th, and we're approximately 40% free and reduced lunch when we do have free and reduced lunch. This year we have been so fortunate that every child eats free, so that's been a huge help. And our boundaries pull in some of the lowest income areas in Cedar City. So kind of how we got here and how we started talking about intergenerational poverty and what we do at our school, the district really started to ask themselves, and I love this, do we want an ambulance at the bottom of the hill when the kids have crashed so far that we can't help a lot? Or do we want a fence at the top of the hill to prevent them from falling off the cliff? And so that's kind of what I keep in mind when I make decisions at my school is this going to help the students and be preventative? And I think if we start with preventative, we're going to go a lot further than if we're trying to pick up the pieces after something happens. And especially when we look at behaviors. So we have a lot of our intergenerational poverty youth come with some pretty hard behaviors. And so we really have to look as a school that what you see is just the tip of the iceberg, literally, that every behavior a child has or a human being has, there's a function for that behavior and there's something else going on. And especially we look at our kids in poverty and our students in poverty, we really have to focus on what's going on with that student. It's not that it's personal. When they tell me they hate me and they're crying in my office and they just want to smack me, it's not personal. It's not me. There's something else going on in their life, and we have to figure out what it is and help them as much as we can. And then this was a quote from my social worker that has since moved on but used to work at our school. When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. And so when our students, and especially holds true for our intergenerational poverty community, is when they're not blooming and we're not finding their full potential, we need to fix the environment, not them. It's not always their fault. We need to help and give supports, and so we've really focused on that at our school. So this is my why. I've been teaching, next year will be my 25th year, all in Iron County. When I was in college, I turned down the Utah Educator Scholarship because I swore I would never ever stay in Utah. Grew up in Logan, came down here to get away from my parents, and here I am. Could have had my school paid for, it was a really stupid move. But this is my why. So these are my kids and my husband. Some of you may know him, and some people, when they find out who I'm married to, they're a little like, whoa, not quite the match, but we make a good team. So we're different ends of the spectrum sometimes, we make a great team, and then my cute kids. But especially this one. So some people that know my family history, my son is 17, and we tried and tried for a long time to have another child. And finally the doctor was like, that's your miracle baby, and you just need to give up. So we looked into adoption. It was quite the journey. We looked at private adoptions. We started the foster care classes, and being a principal, we stopped after we did the classes, and I said, I can't get licensed, it's not the right time. There's so much going on, and at that time I was at elementary school, because I saw the impact those kids had, and some of my most difficult students were students that were going through the foster care system. And then I went to Cedar Middle School, and for whatever reason we decided we're gonna do this again. We did it again, and we got our first little placement, and have since adopted her. She is a perfect example of intergenerational poverty. So her biological family have been in the system of poverty for years and years, generation upon generation. And I didn't really get it. I got it because I felt like I was always a compassionate and caring teacher, and I always tried to put my students first, and I really cared about them and their families, but I didn't really get it until I met her family. And she's the reason that I pushed so hard at my school for relationships with students and understanding that not every kid comes from the same strong foundation and even knows that they're supposed to come with a backpack or a pencil, because her parents didn't have those skills. Great people, they really loved their children. They had 5 that all went through the system, and they eventually all had to be adopted because they couldn't quite pull it together. But they just had never been taught. It wasn't because they didn't want to. They truly love their kids, but it's because they never learned. Their parents didn't teach them, their parents didn't teach their parents, and that cycle just continued to their own children. And so we have to find a way to break that cycle, because unfortunately she ended up in neglect, she ended up in drugs with her parents, and so the state had to come in and break her cycle. But the better way to do that is not have them removed. The better way to do that is help before it gets to that point. So I feel really strongly. So we do what's called a multi-tiered system of support. So we have tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and they're not the kind that come when you're sad, although we do have those too some days at our school. But tier 1 means everybody gets it. The entire population of students will get tier 1. Tier 2 means whatever's happening on tier 1 isn't working for those students, and we need to add more. And tier 3 is even more intensive. So one thing we're really proud of, that this developed, and most of the programs that you'll hear about, that we'll talk about, developed with my teachers. They are, again, an amazing group of people, and putting their heads together, they can come up with incredible programs that work for our students. So monthly MTSS meetings. So again, every month during Late Start, my teachers use an hour of that valuable time, and they get together in teams that share common students. So 6th grade has 3 teams, 7th grade has 2, and we have every other Friday we had clubs, and we would have community volunteers come as well. So the best example is before she passed away, we would have the Forest Service. She would come and talk about her job as with the Forest Service and working with students. And so she would come and do a club there, archaeology club. We had SU come and do a